Hello there. How are you? It's time to go live in my studio. I'm Kathy Freeman with Kathy Freeman Art, and I welcome you here today. I am going to work on a project inside my little art journal here that I've been working on. This is what we created last week with my creative reminders, and this week I filled this little page here. Now, what I chose to do for today, I was thinking about yesterday, the whole topic on worry. And I actually sent out an email to those on my email list. If you're not on my email list, go to kathyfreemanart.com and fill in. You can scroll down. You'll see, join me on my email list. And I send out a couple times a week a few little bits of information and tidbits that I think are helpful to help us be able to manage through all of the stress and the weight of concerns and that we tend to have. And I use creative methods, creative art and that to help let that go and be able to relax. And so anyway, this particular email went out. I wanted to focus on worry and why we tend to worry in the mornings. We wake up and it's like, all because everything is still and it hasn't really started. Our day hasn't started with a lot of commotion and different things to really get our mind occupied. That's when all those worries start creeping in. And so I gave a few tips in that email of a morning ritual and a little evening practice that I think would be helpful if you find that you have a lot on your plate and you just need some time to be able to kind of relax, take some time for yourself so that you're able to carry on and keep going. So this one today, what I chose to do is I pulled out of my Creative Reminders library. That's what my art sisters have access to, is a library that has a lot of wonderful affirmations in it. But I chose this one. I honor the grace I received. I'm learning from everything. Nothing is wasted. Even in hard times, there's beauty I can build upon. I am forming new ways of thinking, and with God's help, I can turn opposition into opportunity. And so I actually took that. I'm not fond of writing things myself in my art journal. I like to, this page I wrote, but I usually like to just kind of get something short and in there, but I really wanted all these words. And so I thought, I'm going to go to this method. I took some tissue paper, I taped down the top and the two sides, and I ran it through my printer and copied that off. And so that's what I'm going to use to put on here. I'm going to use these colors. I pulled out some of the papers and that I have. I have a little stash of papers, and I thought, I really like these, and I wanted to combine these and utilize this. So let's just begin and start creating. What do you say? Let's see, I'm going to use some of this is matte gel right here. I'm going to use that to adhere down some of these heavier sheets and get that put down, and then we'll decide what we're going to make on top of that and what we're going to use to create. I'm going to keep it kind of simple. Usually in my art journal, I don't get really detailed like I would in some of the projects that we do in our classes and that. I like to just be able to relax and play and see what comes. So I hope that you give yourself that freedom too, to just really enjoy and see what you can create. Okay, we've got a good layer of that on there. And I'm going to bring that right over. And just stick that down on that page. That should adhere really well. It's a nice thing about the matte mediums, or excuse me, the matte gels, because this is a matte gel. And I wanted this rough edge so that I could have that contrast. I'm going to go ahead and put some of this gel right over the top of this. tear that down. Nice. Now, I believe what I want to do with this, let's just kind of rip it K-Wampusy. And I'm going to put the finished side over here, like this. And this one, I'm going to top off the edge here. You just have to kind of play with it to see what speaks to you as you're okay, we're going to go like that, but I'm going to rip this top edge so that it's not just a straight across. There we go. It's always better if you have some gloves to work with. When you start doing this, it's a lot nicer. It's easier on your hands. Okay. Put that in like so. And I'm going to go ahead and give you the full screen of this versus me. So there we go. Let's just move myself down. And then you can see it a lot better. When I collect my scraps after I'm working on something, I like to put them in bunches, little groupings of what I think might work really well or be nice together. And so this just happened to be a grouping. I wanted to work with this piece for a while. I love this black and you know what? I kind of want to just I'm not sure what I want to do there. No, I just want to play. There we go. I'm going to pull it over like so. It's already started sticking down, which is great. Hope it's got enough there. This piece I'll stick on this end. There we go. Let's just bring it down like that. The reason I was a little bit picky on how I'm doing that is I want it to really kind of just flow around. There we go. Let's go there. Just lay your pieces down and see what fits. Okay, I finished those. I have this little horse here. Well, I'm going to use the full sheet of this. And I have no idea. Just what I'm working on is the background. Not letting my mind get too caught up into, well, what's next? What's it going to be when it's finished? Any of those things that my mind wants to think about when it gets going. It wants to know the end result, and I'm stopping it, thinking, nope, we're just going to enjoy this process here. I'm going to center that a little bit. Just place these down. And when you're doing something like this, you don't really have to have, I think you can just create the background if you want. Just create a fun, interesting background. Thank you for showing up in that. I really appreciate you being here. Okay, we're going to put that like that. So many beautiful papers, and this is fun to use. And this piece, I've got plenty on my hand here, so just feels like it wants to go right here on the edge. So just find your papers and collage them on. I think the only thing really at this point that is just find papers that you think work really well together. They complement each other. They blend well with each other. Oops, I got some stuff on that. Glue, a little glue. There we go. We'll cut that off. Okay, I'm letting that dry, and then I'm going to be cutting that piece off. We've got that piece. And I'll take it and I'll just move the piece around until I feel like that's where it feels most comfortable. Like that little piece just said, I want to sit right there. And this little piece wants to sit right there. All right, so now kind of look it over. And I've got this that I can add. Lay that piece over that if I choose to. It'd be fun right there. Down there. I couldn't tell you why. It just felt like that was the best place for it. It's not any special reason. Got that little piece of a, that's from a candy. Then we've got this purple here, which I think would be really nice. Mixed in here with this. Be a nice break. So today, instead of using paints, to create this background of interesting, I'm using paper. I love that. And to bring it together over here, I think we need a little bit of this to tie these together. Let's see, he can go right there. Glue that down. Let's put a piece of this up here. I always try to put on both sides, that way your eye will move over the pages quite easily because there's some continuity to it. As far as the colors or the paper that you see over there, you see on this side too. And the variety of having vertical lines with horizontal just kind of keeps things moving and balanced. Okay, I love this. And I think what I'm at now is let's let that dry for a minute. I really want to stick this on. Part of me says yes, and part of me says, no, you don't really need it. We'll see. We're just going to pull that off right now because I want my affirmation on here. And I might use it with parts of that. Okay, so now let's let this dry for just a minute. Okay, that's not completely dry, but I'm going to go ahead and cut this off now. It's kind of neat leaving it on there, but it'll just get bent. There we go. And I'll hold on to these scraps. Now I'm going to use my fingers. I'm going to take some of this gesso. And I'm going to use this, do I want the crimson or do I want the magenta? Quinacridone magenta. I think the magenta. Put a little bit on my palette here, use that. This pink is really pretty. It's called Pretty Pink. But it is a really pretty pink. So I'm going to put that. It's almost like a bubblegum pink. It's a little too pink for this, maybe. These are bright colors. Let's go more to the muted. There we go. This pink, it calls itself pink. This kept calling to me, this is light cinnamon. And then this is light buttermilk. So I'm going to put it on the palette. Light cinnamon and light buttermilk. Now I could totally leave this like this and work with it, but I'm going to, I think I just want to blend it a little bit more. Take some of the gesso. Blend out that straight edge right there. I'm going to use my fingers just because they're busy working with this already, so blend that color in. Look at this pink. It's pretty pink. It doesn't really go, but this color will. We'll blend those two together. Clean that off a little bit. Grab my paper towel. I want to clear some of that off because I want to preserve that color. Use a little brush. That's my flat tip. Use that gesso to tone that down a little bit. And my goal is to not cover up all this beautiful paper. But to just add some of the color paint into here. This is the cinnamon I'm adding. Just little bits here and there. Pull some of that off, clean off my brush, dry brush it, and then come back and lift some of it off. Just almost like creating a stain. Or edging. right, there we go. Kind of painting in some of the flower here, just a little bit, so that I get this color mixed in with the design of what's already here. I'm just really dry brushing it. I don't have a lot of paint on, but I'm letting it kind of blend itself around here. I grab a little water too. That'll help to move it. I'm filling in right now all the leftover white page areas. I'll go really dark right here. It'll create kind of a visual border so that the eye just bounces back in. And we'll move it over here. There, I don't want to overdo it. I'm going to grab some of that copper I had. Or cinnamon, not copper, cinnamon. I'm going to move it into here so that you see little bits of it. Mixed over into this page. And I'm just following the design here with this cinnamon. So look at your paper that you're using. Does it have any kind of design on it? Does it have any patterns that you can add just a little bit of that color in there to blend it in? You just kind of look over it all, and okay, it feels like it's missing something up here. So I'm not going to introduce a new color or anything. I'm going to use what I've got. The colors that I have. Let me stand back and just look at that for a minute. So white edge here. Let's get rid of that and help it to feel like it flows over into this other side. It is where I stopped the paper, but really don't want it to be so noticeable. There we go. So just use my cinnamon to make it look like it's antiqued a little. There. That is an interesting, for me, I love that. Very loose, abstract. Just a lot of fun. Just layering that paper in and putting that color. Right. Let's try that. Okay, I see one place else. Carry that. I've got these lines here. I'm going to carry the cinnamon over here and tie that in. Keep it faint. In some areas, I'll do a little darker just so I get that nice contrast. So just a light brushing of this. Start to get that feeling that kind of just like, okay, it belongs. It's working together. I'm not sure what this shape is. It's not a flower. It might be a crown. What will let's take some of that creamy white. Wipe some of it off on my brush. Let's go around that. Let's emphasize that crown. Bring a little more attention to that. Obviously, you saw that I put the color over here, so I'm going to move it a little bit over here too. just tiny bit, blending it, layering it over the other colors. It's a beautiful color. Very soft. I don't want it thick. I want it to be pretty transparent so that you see the other colors through it. Take some of that paint off, brush some of that, lift it up. And I'm going to go over this magenta just a little bit. All right, I've enjoyed that. It's been a lot of fun. Now, I'm wanting to do something. I don't exactly know what, but let's put the lid on this. I kept thinking this morning as I was breathing and doing the exercise that I described to my readers, I kept thinking of bubbles. And as a matter of fact, I used that as a, oh, that's a neat piece right there. That's part of something that I painted. Have to save that for another thing. Anyway, sidetrack. I kept thinking about bubbles. So I'm going to use bubbles. But first, let's figure out where I'm going to put this statement at. I want it over here. And And that's what I tend to do. I always tend to put it on the left side. When I write, I've noticed that. That's just habit, so it doesn't have to go on this side. But I think I'm going to put it on this side, and I'm going to create my bubbles on this side. And the more you can get away of the tissue that's excess, the better. Because it leaves a little bit of a cloudy, and you've got the paint and that underneath. Okay. Right. I'm going to put that on with some matte medium. Go ahead and find my little palette knife. And I'm going to put a coat of this, just go ahead and brush it over the whole thing. Best I can. Use my fingers because they work really well as brushes to get all that perfect. And I don't want any bubbles or anything, and so I usually just kind of gently press it out. There we go. And then I put a little bit over the top to seal it off. I want to be careful. You want to be careful. You don't want to press hard. You don't want to rip it or smear. Now, my printer, this dries really quickly, but you have to be careful if you have the type of printer that it doesn't, the ink doesn't really, I can't remember. I never can remember from lesson to lesson which one that is. You'd think that I would have that memorized. There we go. And that's going to just dry beautifully. Let that dry. Now on this side, I'm going to get busy and I'm going to create my circles, my little bubbles. I think I want to create them in pink ink. Just little bubbles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Good. You always want to go for odd numbers. Okay, so we've got those pink. Now we're going to paint those. Not sure what I'm going to paint them with, but I'm thinking something kind of iridescent. So let me look at my paint and see what I have that's iridescent. In my other studio, I know I've got some beautiful iridescent colors, but I do have a copper here, and I've got this gold. So I've already got a cinnamon going. Let's try the gold on here. We're almost through. I'm going to wet this down, gold, so it's more translucent, more transparent, not quite so opaque. We'll use that. And I'm going to brush in a circle. And this part could actually be something that you come back to and play with. So I'm thinking that I'm going to do my first layer, but I'm not going to call it completely finished because I know I want to put, I can picture in my mind a blue that I have that's an iridescent and a green that's in my other studio. And I think that would be really pretty. So what I'll do here is paint what I have, and then I'll finish it at a little bit later date today, a little later time, and then share the picture with you. This is quite pretty though. Putting that gold around. Get this under here a little more so you see that. Let's try adding some watercolor. Maybe this blue. Pretty with this is to add some green to it, kind of a water kind of move that. And because it's already got acrylic on it, it's not moving as well as it would, when watercolor hits watercolor paper and it's got the water, it really blooms itself out really nice. We're going to just work with it a little bit. That's fun. I'm really liking the very soft, subtle bubbles. Move that one away so it doesn't just dry itself in that crevice where the edge of that paper is. I love this. Let's let that dry for just a minute. And that was a blast to create. All right, I had the best time creating that. Thank you for joining me. I'm so glad you're here. As I created my journal page using my creative reminders, it's part of My Art Sisters. I will be opening up this group here, My Art Sisters, coming up a little bit later this month. So keep yourself posted if you're interested in joining us and being a part of this creative journaling and the art classes and that. All right, have a really great day, and I'll talk to you again next week.